According to Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American philosopher, there is no better way to expand your imagination the, than to study the law. To a highly respected director, School of Legal Studies CUSAT, Professor Dr. Vani S. Kesari, to the eminent speakers of the day, Dr. Sairam Bhatt and Professor Prabhash Ranjan, to the ever versatile Associate Professor and the former Director, School of Legal Studies CUSAT, Professor Dr. P.S. Seema, to all the other Associate Professor, colleagues, and my dear juniors. A very warm good afternoon to each and every one of you. I am Celia Santosh, your host for today's program. Finally, the day is here. After all the written exam, group discussions, interview, selection process, you guys have made it. Congratulations. To be a student in School of Legal Studies and to successfully complete the course is not something that happens to all. And this time, that select few is you. My dear juniors, mark my words when I say this. Today is the day you start to believe anything is possible. Well, why break the suspense when the movie has just started, right? So, without much ado, I welcome the director, Professor Dr. Vani S. Kesari, to deliver the welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Celia. Eminent speakers of the day, Professor Dr. Sairam Bhatt, National Law School of India University, Professor Dr. Prabhash Ranjan, my faculty colleagues, and my dear beloved students. In fact, you find that when a person chooses postgraduate education, what might be the prime reason for it? Essentially, it shows the interest in the particular person to proceed with the education in law, the study of law. While we undertake undergraduate course, we know the fundamental different dimensions of law. But when we undertake a postgraduate course, we will understand the fine nuances behind the written law. And I think that the academic journey at School of Legal Studies CUSAT will definitely be of a great help to you while you proceed with your career options. Without taking much of the time, I would like to welcome both the eminent speakers here today who are very well known in their respective field. Dr. Sairam Bhatt is known to the institution as well as family as such because we had two collaborative projects with his center. He's a renowned public law expert. On the other side, we have Professor Dr. Prabhash Ranjan, who is a private law expert. In fact, my colleague, Dr. Harishankar, happened to forward me an article today, which Prabhash sir has written in Indian Express. And we express our sincere gratitude for accepting our invitation to both of you, and we welcome you to this program. And I also welcome all the new admitted candidates, students of our SLS family. Thank you for opting our law school, and we assure you that we will do our best to keep up to your expectations. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for those warm and wonderful words. And just like that, I know you are all excited to go to the main course and the heart of today's program. So it is my pleasure to introduce the first speaker of the day, Dr. Sairam Bhatt. Dr. Sairam Bhatt is a professor of National Law University, Bangalore. He is also the principal coordinator of CIRA, NLU, Bangalore. Beside this, he received Young Indian Environmental Law Fellowship in 2003. He was the faculty at Golden Gate University, San Francisco during the fall of 2003. He received a Fulbright Fellowship in 2010 and was a visiting researcher in Georgetown University Law Center. To his credit, he has various publications and his area of specialization includes contract law, environmental law, and right to information. It is truly an honor to have you with us today, sir. Now, I request Dr. Sairam Bhatt to speak a few words.
Um, Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to join this induction program. Thanks to Professor Vani Kesari, my faculty colleagues at the Department of Law in CUSAT, my fellow speaker, Prabhas Ranjan, and students of law, very eager and enthusiastic to get into the master's program. I am here to just share a few of my experiences with you, to motivate you, to inspire you, to actually make a good career in law. And I think that is the whole purpose why I wish to join today afternoon. Friends, I think, let me tell you that I did not do my LLB very seriously. Yeah, that's a confession time, maybe too late in the day. And because I did not do my LLB seriously, I decided to do my LLM seriously. Now, I don't know what is your case, right? What is the reason why you have decided to join a master's program? Now, many of us have different reasons. Some of us want to escape the courtroom battle. We don't like putting the black coat. Who wants to, toil the courts? That's why, masters is an easier choice. Many of us want to get into academia or academics. We have aspirations to be law teachers, and that's why we think a master's degree is required. Many of us want to join the LLM program, maybe, because, we have an urge to learn more. Maybe the learning has not been enough in the undergraduate program. So be whatever it may be, friends, whatever the reason that forced you, inspired you, motivated you to join the LLM program, I think what I have to say is, please make the best use of the time in the master's program. The world outside is very competitive today. Making a career, finding a job is not that easy any longer. It was easy probably during my days, because in my days, if you had NET qualified, we had only few people who were qualifying NET. So we used to get jobs, but now a lot of people are qualifying NET. So it's not easy to get a job. And hence, I believe that when you're getting into the master's program, you ought to be very, very serious in your approach, in your technique. And I think this is the best time you can actually put to become a fine lawyer. Friends, the master's program is not an extension of a law school program. This is something that I want to tell you very clearly. See, in the law school program in India, we are still in a spoon-feeding era. What do I mean by a spoon-feeding era? As teachers, we are still teaching you the law, and you're learning the law. The teacher comes prepared in a lecture method and lectures to the student listen, write the exam, pass. So, to be honest, in law schools, unfortunately, we are still teachers teaching the law. But remember, in a postgraduate department, I would say we are professors. Now, don't think that I'm trying to boast myself in a higher qualification. But the difference between a teacher and a professor is more a facilitator of the class. He expects the student to do the learning on their own. The professor guides the student in attaining knowledge. He doesn't feed information like a teacher normally does. And hence, please don't expect, your so-called teachers to continue the spoon-feeding information part. I think teachers in the master's program will only facilitate your self-learning. And when I mean self-learning, friends, remember, what is self-learning all about? Please come prepared to the class. Read before the class. Interestingly, friends, this is as an observer of law students. I'm just saying this. Both sides, on the faculty side as well as on the student side. Friends, one thing that unfortunately we have reduced is our time of reading. We are reading more on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. How many likes, how many comments for my photo I have got? We are spending so much time on social media right now for nothing, to be honest, where you get zero knowledge, zero information, zero intellectual enhancement. I believe that it is time that if you are going to get into the fountain of legal knowledge, which is the master's program, which will actually create some kind of expertise on a subject area for you. You should have the ability to read well. And don't read for the examination purposes, friends. Remember, I'm sure at the master's level, you have that much maturity of saying it's not the marks or the grades that will make a good lawyer. I think it's my ability to comprehend, appreciate, and analyze the law that is more important. A gold medal winner is not necessarily a good teacher. A gold medalist is not going to be necessarily a good advocate. So if you want to grasp the knowledge, this is your final moment. As students, after that, you will be in the market making a career. So this is a great opportunity where you should invest time in reading and read really well. Read books. Don't read short articles. Read actual books. And I believe best time is spent in the library where you can actually concentrate and read. This is my first request to all of you. My second request to all of you, friends, is I believe that in India, lawyers and law teachers are pretty good at their vocabulary skills. We speak well. Yeah, our school, right from 10th grade, 12th grade, even law schools, we have been trained to speak well. Speak and argue well also. Yeah. Argue with your parents, argue with your teachers, argue with the judge, argue with the policeman who cuts the challan, argue well. Indians argue really well. We are the argumentative Indian, if I can say so. But one skill, friends, which I would request all of you to hone yourself in the master's program is the skill of research and writing. I have been quite obsessed with this kind of an idea, friends. I believe that it is very important for a good lawyer to be a good researcher and a good writer. Like Prabhas Ranjan, who has written recently in a newspaper. And good writing doesn't mean that you have to write in an acclaimed journal. You can write in a newspaper, you can write in Economic and Political Weekly, you can write anywhere. But that is dissemination of your knowledge and dissemination of your opinion. And that's very, very important. What does a lawyer think must be communicated. And hence, research and writing, friends, is one of the integral factors why students should be trained in the master's program. And I'm sure you know that to complete your master's program, there is a dissertation component. It's an important component, isn't it? Now, please note, friends, if I were you, and this is the induction day, I will start planning for my dissertation right today. And I will make a dissertation, please note, of publishable quality. A quality that is not only evaluated for the LLM marks. Yes, that is part of the evaluation process. You have to submit your dissertation, get marks, get a gold or 2 gold medals, maybe platinum medal. We should change from gold to platinum right now because gold doesn't glitter any longer. But I believe that why don't you attempt to write something of your dissertation of a publishable quality, something that can go outside, print, people can read. And it's not just your faculty or your teachers reading. I think the community should have the ability. Friends, if you resolve today that, yes, I want to do something that is making an impact and making an impact as a student, that is the pathway to success. I will try to work on my dissertation sincerely. It will be an original work. It will be a creative work. It will be a work that will be published. And remember, dissertations can be published as books. Dissertation can be published. A part of that can be published as an article in a journal. Don't forget all of that. And let me tell you, today, we read, the Times ranking, that ranking, this ranking, global ranking, world ranking, and we say Indian universities are not doing well in the ranking business. Why we are not doing well in the ranking business is probably because we are not valuing the dissertation research that our students are doing. That dissertation research is getting the marks. It is getting into the shelf of the university cupboards, but it is not being published in the world. And I believe that the faculty and the students should work towards publication of some of the dissertations which are of quality and which should probably reach the next generation in terms of the print of the sign work. Friends, I'll just conclude by saying this. It is important that we value our time as students. You should enjoy your time on campus, no doubt about it. The student life is a very precious life. You don't get it anywhere else. I think it's important that we hone the hat of the future citizen of this country, and that's what students are. The students are the future citizens of this country. But I think law students play an important role among all other disciplines of students. You know why? Because we are the community that determines the rights of this country in future. We are a community that can dominate governance, politics, and legal system. We are a community that will hone, say, the role of a judge tomorrow. We are a community that will fight for the rights of the downtrodden and the oppressed. So on campus, friends, law students have a special role. And I believe that as a community of law students, you must never leave the fact that we have a social duty to play. And that social duty, friends, the law as a social engineer, a social reformist, I think we should never lose the stand of the fact that somewhere we need to give back to the society and the community what we have learned as lawyers. That kind of social responsibility, I believe, we must all carry forward too. And when I say that, please note, as lawyers, we can give back to society in multiple ways. You can become a teacher. That's giving back to the society. You can be a lawyer or an advocate fighting for the rights of downtrodden. That is another way. You may be a law journalist who is reporting facts about what is happening as, mismanagement, misgovernance, so on and so forth. You can take several roles, whichever role you wish to do. But I think our contribution should continue as a social reformist, which means we are a community of students who are here for a social change, for a better society, for a better government, for better rights, for a change which will actually bring about better livelihood for communities around us. I think that responsibility lawyers have, law students have. For example, when you choose your dissertation topics, friends, what will you choose? You'll all choose contemporary areas, isn't it? Areas that are current, prevalent, now, current, that is happening. And that's why most of us desire a change. We are desiring change not for the sake of change, but we desire change because we want to see a change. We want to see improvement. And that's why take the statement very seriously that lawyers are social engineers. And as social engineers, our contribution to society is something that we must always contribute to. With this short intervention from my side, let me wish you all the very best. I hope to see some of you at least joining me as academicians or law teachers. Welcome to the legal academia, and I hope you will all do very well in your personal and professional life. But please try to make best use of this time because probably this is the last leg of your student life. And I think this is a life that you should always cherish with great, good, and successful memories as always. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for those wonderful words. It was truly enlightening. At this juncture, I would like to introduce the second speaker of the day, Dr. Prabhash Ranjan. Dr. Prabhash Ranjan is the professor, Vice Dean at Jindal Global Law School, prior to which he was the associate professor at South Asian University. Dr. Prabhash has also worked as an associate professor in National Law University, Jodhpur, and as an assistant professor at National Law University, Calcutta. He has been a visiting scholar at Brookings, India, and a visiting fellow at the Center for International Law, Cambridge University. Beside this, Dr. Prabhash was also a member was also a member of the team that drafted the 260th report of Law Commission of India in 2015 draft model Indian bilateral investment treaty. Recently, he was invited by the Parliamentary Committee on External Affairs to depose as an expert witness on India and bilateral investment treaty. It is indeed a pleasure to have you with us today, sir. Now I request Professor Dr. Prabhash Ranjan to speak a few words. Sir, please.
Hello, my namaskar to everyone, and thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I'm extremely grateful to Cochin University of Science and Technology, Professor Vani Kesari, and all the faculty members. And my heartiest greetings and congratulations to all the students who have joined the law program at the university. What I'm going to say is maybe a slight repetition of what Professor Sairam Bhatt has already spoken, but he has already mentioned the most important things which students, and I would venture to say not just LLM students, but even LLB students should keep in mind. And I also speak from the point of view of teaching LLM program at the South Asian University, where I was working earlier for last 8 years, and having having interacted very closely with LLM students. So I want to make a few points, and I will start by saying that, Professor Sairam Bhatt talked about the significance of reading widely. I will just build on that and say that what should you read widely? Should it just be law, or should it be something which is outside law? And it is my firm belief, I mean, you can accuse me of being old-fashioned because I did the 3-year LLB program. And I did try to do it very seriously. I don't know if I was successful in doing that. But I did the 3-year LLB program at Delhi University. And this was obviously after my first degree in economics honors at Delhi University. And the difference that I could feel is that the fact that I studied a social science subject, or any other subject for that matter, before I started studying law, that definitely gave me an edge. And this is something which I could not understand in my, in my initial days as a LLB student. But I understood this over a period of time, that the fact that I studied a social science subject for 3 years before I started studying law, that definitely helped me in understanding, the forces behind the law, like what Professor Bhatt was mentioning, that, LLM is the stage where you need not focus just on what the law is, but also try to look at why this law exists, what purpose does it serve, in which context does it operate. And, all of this cannot be understood, cannot be appreciated unless or until you develop an interest in some social science subject. And it could be anything. In my case, it is economics. I deeply like political science as well. In your case, it could be anything else. I know most of you would have come from the 5-year law program. In the 5-year law program, there is both an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is that you are exposed to all social science subjects as the BA part of your BA LLB program. But the disadvantage is that in the BA LLB program, the BA part is not taken seriously, right? Because everybody thinks that we have come here to become lawyers, so why should we waste our time studying history and studying economics and studying sociology? But what is not emphasized enough is that it is this history, sociology, economics, politics, which actually plays a very important role in giving life and soul to law. Otherwise, law is very dry. Law is something what a car mechanic would do to fix the engine of the car. But it is not sufficient to just fix the engine of the car. You need to know the design of the car, right? And for that, you have to maybe step beyond the law. So my first advice, if I can say, is that if you're already developing interest in a social science subject, please develop it further. If you haven't developed interest, then please identify at least one social science subject and try to read in that subject. It could be anything. It could be history, political science, economics, anything that you like, because that would definitely add value to you becoming a good lawyer. The second point that I want to talk about is in terms of, again, on the theme of reading widely. And I would like to share some experience here in terms of, what was my experience as an LLM student. I did not pursue my LLM in India. I pursued my LLM in the UK. And as Sairam Bhatt was saying that I saw a huge difference in the attitudes and in the entire ecosystem. In India, as we all know, it's spoon feeding, and national law schools, unfortunately, and I've taught at 2 national law schools, they are known for spoon feeding, unfortunately, and this has somehow not gone away. That has become part of the culture for some reason, and I think it's very important to break away from this culture. And one can break away from this culture not just by the efforts of the faculty, but also by the efforts of the student. So something which I experienced as part of my LLM is that we were given a long reading list. There will be just one lecture of 2 hours in a subject in a week, compared to hours and hours of teaching that we are used to at the undergrad level. And the professor would Sairam Bhatt is absolutely right. As a facilitator, he will not teach you, right? He will pick up issues and discuss them in the class, and he would expect that you contribute to those academic discussions, which you can only do if you have read that before and come to the class, right? So therefore, this culture of reading before the class, in India, the culture is we read after the class, or maybe we don't read even after the class. We postpone it till the exams are knocking at the door. But the culture of reading before the class, and this is something which I learned as part of my LLM. And I always encourage my students to do that. Some do, some do not do. But reading before the class is very, very useful, because it would help you to raise the level of debate and your own understanding of the subject. The second strategy that you need to follow in reading widely is, I agree with Professor Sairam Bhatt that you should read the original books, the original text. But in addition to that, you also need to identify the right kind of literature for reading. In this day and age, when we are flooded with information, right? When WhatsApp has become source of history, and when Instagram is the source of, and I'll be honest, a student once shared a term paper with me, and her first footnote was Wikipedia. And I told her that this cannot be an academic source, right? And therefore, what are academic sources, and what is the literature that you need to read? It's like consuming food. If you keep consuming sizzlers and fast food and that kind of food, you will fall sick, right? That food would be very tasty, but you would definitely fall sick in the long run. But if you consume nutritious food, you may not like it, but it will be good for your health in the long run. So what is the nutritious academic food for an LLM student? That nutritious academic food, in addition to original books, is that you have to identify the top and the best journals in your subject. Let's assume you are studying human rights. Identify which are the 5 or 10 best human rights journals published abroad, and try to read those journals. Many a times I come across students who don't even know the names of journals in the subject in which they claim to have an interest or a specialization. So that would reflect very poorly on you. It is quite possible that tomorrow, when you face an interview, be it for a teaching job, be it for any other job, you might be asked at who are the most prominent authors in this area of law in which you want to practice or in which you want to work, and what have you read about them, right? And you should be able to tell that, right? And if you're not able to tell, then that would reflect very poorly on you. So therefore, it's very, very important that strategically you prepare a list of the best 5 or 10 journals in that area, and try to read papers from that journal. I'm sure your professors will give that as part of the reading list. But in addition to that, you should make efforts on your own to identify those journals and read those journals. Apart from journals, apart from textbooks, you also need to read, in academia, we have a third kind of publication known as edited books, where you have one editor who puts together a team of 10 or 12 researchers, and then they publish an edited collection on a particular theme. And many of these edited collections focus on some contemporary issue, etc. So that should also be one very important source for your academic research and knowledge. So I will say textbooks, journals, and edited books. And I always tell my students, and I'm always very blunt about it, that please do not read a bad journal, because there are journals and journals and journals. Now, in this day and age, it is easy to identify whether this journal is of a certain quality or not. It's something like this: when you go to buy a product, if it has the ISI mark on it, for example, you buy that product. Now, why do you buy that product? Because you believe in that mark, right? You take that mark as a mark of quality, that this product has passed certain standards. The same logic should apply when it comes to consuming academic material. Just going to Google and typing something and whatever appears and reading that and then basing your entire research on that is a strategy which many of you might have followed in your LLB days, and you might carry on with that habit in LLM days as well. So this is the time to change that habit. And therefore, you have to ask whether this is a peer-reviewed journal, whether this is a journal which is published by a good publishing house. Who are the editors of this journal? Are they well-known academics in their field? Who is the author whose paper I'm reading, right? If it's a paper written by Professor Upendra Bakshi, for example, then you can read that paper irrespective of where that paper has been published. But everybody is not Upendra Bakshi, right? So you will have to do this background verification. It's not very difficult to do in this day and age. And then consume that particular product, which will be useful for you to develop your knowledge and develop your skills, right? And another very important aspect, building, I completely agree with Professor Bhatt that you should try to write your dissertations, and not just dissertations. As LLM student, you will be writing term papers as well, right? You will write at least 2 or 3 term papers and a dissertation. Your aim, I know it would be difficult, but it's certainly not impossible. And good LLM students have been able to do that. Your aim should be not just to publish your dissertation, but also try to publish your term papers. Now, and I'm saying this, that if you keep publication as the objective, as the higher goal, then you will definitely put in more effort in writing your term paper and in doing your dissertation. So again, the question might come that where do I try to publish my term paper or my dissertation? Again, you have to be very strategic about it. For example, if you're writing a term paper in intellectual property, just giving an example, identify which are the journals which focus on intellectual property. Are they Scopus indexed? So 700 odd journals are Scopus indexed, for example. And if you are publishing a paper, try to publish it in a Scopus index journal, because that would help you in the job market as well in the future, right? Identify which are the IP journals which are Scopus indexed, right? See what kind of papers have they published in last 5 to 7 years, and see where your paper might fit in. Every journal will have, generally different sections. So they will have one section on long articles. They will have one section on short articles. They will have one section on case notes. They will have one section on book reviews. So if you are, it is possible that as a young LLM student, you might feel little intimidated submitting a longish paper straight away to a journal. Fine, start with a short article, start with a case note, or pick up a book which has been recently published in IP by any leading publisher and write a review of that book. Writing book review is perhaps the first step in learning the tricks of academic publication, because then you will read the book, you will critically engage with the book, and if you're able to publish it, you will also get a publication under your belt. So please, these are very fine little things. People don't pay adequate attention to it. Maybe because they are never told about these things, but it is important that as young LLM students, you start learning about these things. You may not be able to implement all of this during your LLM program. That's absolutely fine. You can implement it once you start working, because, let's assume you get a job as an assistant professor, right? You will initially be on a probation, or might be on a contract. Now, the world is very competitive, as Sairam has rightly pointed out. Now, you have to show that you are better from your peer, right? Now, how do you show that you are better from your peer? Only by developing your skills and by trying to do something which others may not be able to do, right? So these are some of the things which I wanted to share with all of you. Nobody told these things to me. I've learned these things on my own, but I definitely want that, these are things which should be shared with young LLM students and with young academics. Many of you might go on to do a PhD as well. And your LLM program is the, if you do your LLM program well, that can act as a very solid foundation for a very successful PhD program, right? So please make the most of it. And of course, please enjoy your life, because the student life is, we always look back to our student days as the most memorable days, because once you get into this rat race of job, etc., then you leave behind several other things. So please do enjoy your life, but at the same time, please make the most of it academically as well. So with these words, thank you once again for this opportunity, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or anything that you might have. Thank you very much.
On that note, I request the students, if you have any questions, please drop it in the message box, or you can directly ask it. Sir, I hope you will be there till the end of the program, so you can answer the questions.
I may have to excuse myself. I have taken the permission of Dr. Vani.
Sure.
So kindly.
I'm here for some time. Yeah, I can answer questions.
Sure. So to the students again, if you have any question, please drop it in the message box. We'll take it up later. Thank you, sir, for those wonderful, valuable tips. I'm sure the students will find it useful throughout their master's program. Last but never the least, but rather the most awaited, I now welcome Professor Dr. P.S. Seema ma'am to please deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, Celia. Sairam sir is there. Sir, thank you, sir. Actually, I should thank Dr. Vani for having compelled me to propose vote of thanks. In spite of me thinking that Dr. Harishankar was an apt person, because he was instrumental in inviting Prabhash sir. And I would again request Harishankar to thank Prabhash sir again, because they know each other. But of course, from my side, I will definitely propose vote of thanks, because it was the request from the present director that the next time when this function is there, she won't be there as a director, because her term is coming to an end. So because of that request and the emotion with which she requested, I thought it is always my commitment back to her. So first of all, I thank her for being a constant support every time, by all means. Actually, I should have thanked the other two guests, but first of all, I thank Dr. Vani for this opportunity given, and her concerns for all of us. Thank you, ma'am. And before I thank, I will say that when the previous batch, there's 1 year batch running now, there was when the previous batch was going on, towards the end, when there were 2-3 assignments left, we had to switch over to online classes. And it was a great frustration for me, because I used to take classes looking at the face of the students, looking at their eyes and reading them completely, and understanding how much they could understand. And from that, when I had to switch over to the online classes, where I was not even seeing most of them, because if they were to switch on their camera, their net used to be slow. So I was actually frustrated very much in the beginning. But later, now I start enjoying those classes, because I was handling criminal law classes. Of course, there are only 2 more classes left. I used to ask them, have you noticed any very prominent error of law while it is depicted in films? That is very prominent errors that you find in films. There are so many errors. And then I could actually show them in YouTube or otherwise when it is an online class. So that way, I started enjoying it. They started enjoying it. And now I think I don't mind going ahead with online classes. The reason is that whenever the students say some cases, I can take it there and then, and I can show them. And if they say some other documents, I can take it there and I can present it to them. So that way, I find that it is also comfortable. But before I start, I will also tell you the students. I can see some students. I think Marakar is there, who was our own student. Shaheen Marakar is there, or I don't know whether anybody else who is already our student. We have a wonderful program. That is our Wednesday seminars. For Prabhash sir and Sairam sir, we have a wonderful program called Wednesday Seminar. And maybe for us it is wonderful. I don't know how it is to the students. It is maybe horrible to them. That is, we take the latest cases and we discuss in length for 4 hours. And we ask questions, they come prepared, they give their answers. And even in online mode, it was going wonderfully. So for the new students, we will say that this is actually our landmark. And you will be immensely benefited by that. And I was telling Celia also, because she had done a wonderful job in her Wednesdays. And it is that way we were more into, and we were more close because of that. Otherwise, she is not my student. So I was telling her, you should write these comments, or you should make these comments either as a case comment, or you can compile the area, at least in that area you can write an article. And now fortunately she has taken that as her dissertation topic. So that way she has taken care of that advice from my side. So that this is the way you can do wonderful things in LLM. And coming to Sairam sir, it is very fortunate that sir started with dissertation, because we know that what happens to us students is we show a great enthusiasm in the beginning, and then finally many things come in between. Students end up writing dissertation maybe in 2-3, maybe maximum 2 months they take. Otherwise, we used to say that every month you should write 1 chapter. That is possible. That you, after identifying it, you can write 1 chapter 1 month, and you can complete perhaps one full draft before when 3 months is left. That usually doesn't happen in that way, but still these students are wonderful students. I had given them a schedule. They are sticking onto the schedule, and most of them have completed 2 chapters. So that way, then the dissertation is taken seriously, sir. And we also advise our students to think of publishing it either as a book or as articles. That is the advice we give them. And we always tell them to take all care to see that you write it, keeping in mind that this is going to be an article or a book. And sir, those wonderful words, I think they have been inspired very much, because you have also said that you should read the originals. And that is what is missing, because students still come, perhaps they were used to read only the head notes or sometimes a comment by others. But I think I will have to check up with the students. We used to tell them that if you read judgment on your own, the conclusion may be totally different from a conclusion that is found in books. Because from my own personal experience, Jolly George Varghese' decision, for me, it is a totally different decision from what I see in most of the books. The ratio which they have given to that case in most of the books totally is different. I think those ratios are obiter when I read the case fully. And maybe that somebody else can have a totally different opinion. So that way we train them. And for the new students also, it is our request that you read all the originals. It is not just for the sake of reading the originals. It will work wonders, because it is my personal experience that when we read the original, there are certain sentences perhaps that nobody might have noticed, but you can notice it and you can make it perhaps that might have become a very prominent rule later on, or at least it stays hidden there. You can find it all. It can be, I should, in Malayalam parnadu haramaayitte nammal edukkanam, reading judgments. It should be novels and all. You won't have to do anything after that. But after reading a judgment, you can make wonders. And so make it a point that you read all the judgments also in original. And that is what Sairam sir was saying. And Sairam sir, actually my mission is to thank you all, and I think you are also on the verge of leaving. Thank you, sir. I think we have met when you were here for a program in the community center, and we have talked also that time. So thank you very much, sir, for your presence, and whatever you have said, we will definitely tell the students to carry on, because those were wonderful pieces of advice. Thank you very much from my side and on behalf of the School of Legal Studies. Prabhasharan sir was talking about a very wonderful area of the role of history, economics, and sociology in law. That is something which we have to keep in mind, because when I was doing a refresher course in sociology in Jawaharlal Nehru University, what I could find is that even though we had a 3 weeks class there, in no class law was discussed. So it is the other way around, because I could find that they were talking about dowry, they were talking about child labor, many things. But then I asked them, why don't you have a discussion on what the way the law is taking care of these social issues? They don't have such a discussion at all. It is as if they have kept law completely outside. And for us also, maybe that we also do the same thing, same blunder of discussing just Dowry Prohibition Act without looking at the social implications and the social relation these legislations have. So that was a wonderful, that was, usually I used to think that economics has a lot to do with law. History has a lot to do with law, because the reason for a legislation coming into existence might help a lot in interpreting that law. So that way, sir, that was a wonderful suggestion. And the other suggestion you gave was read originals and that find out the right materials and write journals, books and edited books. That those things, of course, the students definitely will be given these pieces of advice, and we will try to see that they do that. And we keep all your valuable advice in our mind while in the class. And also we will try to give them, or we will tell them to identify the journals in their area, or we will give them a list of journals for them for reference, because that was a wonderful suggestion from your side. Thank you very much, sir. And I believe that after my word of thanks, Harishankar will again thank you, because he can personally, from you're more close, so he can again, just for thanking you, I believe that Harishankar will be there. And now I thank the members of faculty who are here, especially Harishankar, Arathi, Anish, Preeta, Binu, Hari Govind, and all. I can see all of them. Thank you all for being with us. And last but not the least, my dear students, I think most of you might have seen us, all of us you might have seen somewhere or the other during the group discussion or interview. And one student was telling me yesterday that, ma'am, you asked me a question, I couldn't answer that question. It was some doctrine you asked. So I said, I'm not able to recollect, because we were seeing just it was online interviews. Anyway, so we believe that we will have offline classes. And then as these two eminent speakers were saying, we used to tell our students all the same thing. And I believe that your potentials are unlimited, and perhaps you are not aware of that. And I used to ask my students, if I give you a challenge that you will, in how many days can you learn the Constitution completely? Or when I was in the criminal law class, I used to ask them how many days you can at least remember the sections and the contents, not of course the details of how many days in how many days you can do that, the whole IPC. They said, maybe in the beginning they said 1 month. I said, why should you take 1 month? Just say 5-11 sections. If you go for learning 20 sections a day, how many days you can take? And I said that if you start doing that, you will find your own potentials. And it's very amazing that you don't know your potentials. And perhaps our duty is to let you understand your potential, nothing else. So from outside, we will be trying our best to do that. And I believe that after the course, if you look back, I would like to, or I would desire, all of us would desire to see that some qualities are inculcated in you. Integrity, of course, and then your ability to research, then your interest in reading things, then your interest in so many other things which you didn't have. So check up after the course whether you are changed, at least to some extent, transformation. That is what we expect, and that is our all endeavor. We don't spoon feed, of course. And I remember the great words of my great teacher, Dr. K.N. Chandrasekhar Pillai, that never answer the questions, never give answers to the questions. You just answer the question, let the students find out the answers. Because if you give them an answer, they will think that this is the answer. And especially in law, there is no answer. There are only answers. And you can have your own answers, but you should be able to substantiate it. So that way, we are here to bring out the potentials in the mysteries in you, which you are not aware of. So that is our endeavor, and we expect that you will also cooperate with us, and you will have a wonderful life here. And you can just ask your seniors, at least Celia is here, I think Alumelu Gavri is also there. They might be feeling the change that has come to them. They might have, in many ways they are changed, I am sure, because we can feel the change. And they also know the change. So we believe that you all will also have that fortune to have these wonderful experiences from us, and all of us are here to support you. Thank you very much for being with us. And if Harishankar sir is interested, you can thank Prabhash Ranjan sir also on your behalf. Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you, Thank you, ma'am. Harishankar sir, we really look forward from listening to your words.
Frankly, I'm not too sure whether Prabhash would like a formal vote of thanks now after a very long
Okay.
expression of gratitude from Professor Seema. But just a few words from me, not to thank my good friend Prabhash, but just keep all those words that he has said. So personally for me, it's been an inspiration since, I mean, we met at the law school as colleagues, but even he can, if he can, inspire his colleagues this much, I think his words and his publications would be a great inspiration for all the postgraduate students. So especially if you're working in the area of international economic law. I'm not sure whether Professor Sairam Bhatt is still present here, but please keep those words in mind. And I would also use this as a disclaimer that LLM teachers are not supposed to be teachers like teaching in your LLB classes. So yeah, we would try and play a role as facilitators of in the classroom. So thank you once again to Professor Vani and Professor Seema, and to all my colleagues, Celia, and all the very best from my side. We'll see you from next week. Thanks, Prabhash.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Christina Raju, I saw that you raised your hand. If you still have a question, please go ahead and ask. Christina, are you there?
No, Celia, there was just a mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Any other question from the students, please go ahead and ask. All right. So thank you both Hari sir and Seema ma'am. With that, we have come to the end of Induction Program 2021. I, on behalf of School of Legal Studies, CUSAT, thank the key speakers of the day, Professor Dr. Sairam Bhatt and Professor Dr. Prabhash Ranjan, and all the faculties who are spending your valuable time with us. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much. Thank you, sir.